Hello, everybody, and welcome to the monthly Oracle Wisdom for June 2026. As I do every month, we are going to do pick a pile. I'm going to show you 3 crystals. If there's one that automatically jumps out to you, that's the pile that has the messages for you. If you're not sure, take a moment, take a breath, have a think about the crystals that I'm showing you and see if there's one that you're drawn to more. And there might be 2. There could be messages for you in both piles. So for those of you that are joining me for the first time, my name is Natalie, and we are obviously going to have a look at the Oracle cards and what they have to tell us about your month of June in 2026. So pile number 1 is the Shungite, my truth palm stone. Pile number 2, we have the orange calcite owl. And then pile number 3, we have the blue sandstone. So, like I said, there may be one that has automatically jumped out to you, but if not, take a moment, take a breath. And we will get started with pile number 1. So we are starting with pile number 1. If you chose the Shungite, this is your reading. So I think for as long as I've been doing the monthly readings, I have been starting with a Maruk deck. I am not doing that today. I don't even know how to pronounce this person's name properly. Since Sishui, I'm just going to show you all the box. So we are starting off with the Law of Attraction Oracle cards. And the thing that I like about these cards is that they actually have a reverse side as well. So we're just going to have a look at what we've pulled. So the first card out is efficiency. Work smarter, not harder. Align effort with strategy for maximum impact. Optimize your approach today. Find ways to simplify your efforts. Then we have the patience card reversed. Impatience may be blocking alignment. Let go of urgency. Then we have the momentum card in reverse. You may be feeling stuck. Shift your approach and regain momentum with small steps. Then we have the breakthrough card in reverse. Fear may be keeping you stuck. Release old patterns and embrace transformation. And then we have the openness card. True receiving happens when you release resistance and allow all possibilities to unfold. Let go of rigid expectations today. Embrace whatever comes your way with an open heart. So I think this is a month where we need to figure out the way that is going to be most efficient for us to sort of move forward and keep building on what it is we have been creating in our lives. But I think that we're being held back at the moment by being impatient, and we're getting impatient because we feel stuck. And then we have to look at why we're getting stuck. And it would seem that fear is holding us back. And this is the thing with fear. And let me say that as a child, I was fearful of everything, and I've still got some weird little hang-ups. But none of that stops me from living my life. I continue on regardless of fear. And the biggest example that I always talk about when I talk about how fear has impacted my life has been moving over to the US. I had a very full and joyful career in Australia. I was modeling full time. I was starting to do more hosting work, and I really loved what I was doing. But I knew that my time in Australia was just done, and I needed to take the opportunities that were presented to me. And I had a home. My family is there. I have incredible friends, and there was a moment when the approval for my visa came through and I had to make the decision, do I actually want to do this? Do I want to risk everything that I have spent so long building and go to a place where there are no guarantees? I knew a couple of people over here, but I really didn't have a circle of friends. And I had to make that call. And can I tell you, it was so difficult letting all of that security go, but it was the greatest gift that I ever gave myself. And the way I got through it for me mentally was, if I go over there and it doesn't work, at least on my deathbed, there are no questions left. Could it have been different? Could I have made it work? But I was too fearful to get on the plane. I was too fearful to roll the dice and see what happened. So I think this is a month where you need to look at strategies as to how you can best move forward, how you can efficiently move forward. But you need to really look at the fear that is holding you back, and you need to address those fears. And maybe it's just recognizing the fears and going, okay, I understand what the fear is, and I want to get to the other side. So for me, I understood what my fear was. It was the fear of letting everything that I knew go. It was letting go of every security that I had in this life go. And I did it knowing that I could have to move back to Australia, be in a worse off position. I might need to move back in with my dad or do something like that. But I understood why I was fearful. I understood what I needed to do. So I chose to sort of step through that. When you recognize what is creating that fear, then you're able to make the choice or come to some sort of logical understanding in your brain to be able to move forward. So then we have like this issue with momentum and impatience. And I think that the fear, the impatience, and the momentum are all tied in together. I think that fear does a great job of stopping us from moving forward. So there's your issue with momentum, because if you're allowing the fear to win, that often slows us down, even if it's a subconscious thing. And then consciously you're getting impatient because you're going, why aren't I moving forward? Why aren't I moving forward? So this is a month where you need to identify those fears. You need to look at, okay, I haven't been moving forward because maybe these fears are restricting me. I need to figure out a way to just start taking baby steps. And maybe that's the secret to overcoming the fear. It's not that you need to do a huge leap forward into something, but maybe it's just tiny little steps, tiny little changes that need to be made in order for you to start getting that momentum and realize that there is nothing to be fearful of. And then with the impatience, I always think about a time when I was selling one of my properties, and I had been living there and I had just had enough. I was ready to move. I wanted to be in a different location. And I was trying to get everything sorted in that apartment so that I could get it on the market. But I wasn't getting anywhere. And I was like, this is insane. And I was so frustrated, and I was doing it all on my own because I was incapable of asking for help at that point, until one of my best girlfriends turned up one day and went, right, we need to look at this. We need to write a list. I said, I've already done it. And she looks at the list, and I started going, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. And I realized that this series of all these little steps added up. And I was actually so far through the process that I was so frustrated with. So you need to stop, and you need to take a breath. You need to look with perspective as to where things are going and how they're moving forward. And you need to give yourself credit for all those little steps. And when you're focused on building that momentum and just going, okay, no pressure, just put one foot in front of the other, just get one little thing done, one little thing done, one little thing done, you suddenly realize you've gotten so much further than you ever thought was possible. So I think that's a huge focus of this month for you. And then the other part is being open to everything that's coming up. Be open to the fears that are coming up. Be open to receiving what's on the other side of that fear. So it's about letting go of the rigidity of your expectations. Sometimes when we're manifesting, we have a very fixed idea in our head of how things are meant to look, how they're meant to go, in terms of how they're meant to play out. And that is often what is holding us back. I was having this conversation with my stepmother yesterday, and I was talking about my partner, and we were just talking about life. And I said, he is so different from who I thought I was going to end up with. And I was telling her that I had this vision in my head that I was going to end up with somebody who possibly had a ranch, very nature and animal focused, so that I'd said I was open to moving to Texas or Tennessee or somewhere, but I wanted land and I wanted these animals, and there was a vision in my head of how he may look. And my partner is none of that, but he's everything that I needed and wanted, and I love him so much. So this is where it pays to be open. If I met him and I was stuck on this vision of this rancher or this cowboy type person that I was expecting, I would have missed something that was so magical for me. So this is a week where you need a week. I keep saying week. This is a month where you need to be open to what the universe is giving you and how it's presenting. Okay, so then we're moving on to the Spirit Cards Oracle deck. This is a John Moseley deck, which I purchased when I was at Conscious Life Expo, and I love the artwork on this deck. So we have Warrior S, Devotion, Assertiveness, and Focus. So this is a month where you do need to be devoted to what it is you want to create in this life. You need to be dedicated to the life that you want to create. And this is about focus. You have to focus to get over these hurdles. And I don't think these hurdles are insurmountable. I think there's speed bumps along the way, and it's part of your growth to figure out what it is that's holding you back and figure out how to move forward and how to gain that momentum, because these lessons are going to serve you later on when there's other challenges that present. You need to know how to move forward through these things. You need to know what it is you need to look at when you get stuck. We need reminders to be open to the opportunities that the universe presents, because what we forget is when we are manifesting, sometimes we're not detailed enough when we're writing what it is we want. I used to write, I need a man that can handle me because I'm a lot. Energetically, I'm a lot. My physical presence can be imposing, and it's a lot for people. And I understand who I am. And I was talking to someone one day and they said, you need to be more detailed. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, what does they need to be able to handle me. What does that mean? And I went, oh, I need them to accept me for who I am without trying to change me, because this was a pattern that was going on. They said, you have to write that. You have to write all the little details. The partner I have now accepts me exactly as I am, doesn't ask me to change. When I'm upset and I'm having a moment, he's there giggling at me because he thinks it's hilarious. And apparently I'm very, very funny when I'm upset. And I talk faster than I talk right now. But so this is a time to be focused on you, focused on what it is you need to shift, and having that devotion to yourself and your growth and propelling yourself forward. Then we have wolf spirit, wildness, freedom, and belonging. So the wolf, a wolf doesn't spend its time with sheep. A wolf is leading the pack, but it's also part of a pack. So this is a month where you need to focus on what it is you need for you. So it's about feeding that wild spirit. It's about your freedom to move in the direction that you need to move in while still embracing your community around you. Don't forget, while you're focused on your journey, the people in your life, your friends, your family, the support, that one exists for you, because wolves move in packs and they all have their pecking order. There is a hierarchy to the wolf pack. So you may be on your journey and you may be leading the way and you're focused and you're doing your thing. Do not forget the pack, because you will need them at different times to be there and support you. And then we have fire spirit, passion, purification, and energy. This is a month where you need to tune in to that fire energy. It is about going forward. It is about moving forward and being dedicated and passionate. So this is a huge month, I think, in terms of growth for you. And it's about taking care of yourself. And this is a month where you're setting yourself up to be positioned correctly for what else is coming through. And then we're finishing up with the Soul Care Oracle cards, which is Sara McCormick. And we have the New Moon card. I am dreaming of a new beginning. You're ready for this beginning. You've already pictured it. You've been trying to manifest it. This is that moment where it comes to you needing to focus and actually start this new chapter. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by focusing on what is holding you back, getting that momentum going, and being patient, because these things don't happen overnight. Manifestation is generally, it can just, things change in a millisecond and you get a phone call or an opportunity presents. But often with manifestation, it takes time. You put out what you want to the universe, but you also need to be proactive. So this is the month where you are needing to sort of step into that, and you need to put in your effort so the universe can give you exactly what it is you've been looking for. And now we're moving on to pile number 2. So if you picked the orange calcite owl, this reading is for you. So we are starting with the Law of Attraction Oracle cards. So we have acceptance. Embracing what is brings peace. Resisting reality only prolongs discomfort. Breathe deeply and acknowledge your current situation without judgment. Then we have forgiveness. Releasing resentment frees you. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. Let go of your past hurts. Choose peace over pain by forgiving yourself and others. Then we have radiance in reverse. Self-doubt may be dimming your light. Reignite your confidence and authenticity. Then we have boldness in reverse. Hesitation or fear of failure may be blocking your next step. Trust in your ability. And then we have creation in reverse. Stagnation or overthinking may be slowing creation. Take inspired action now. Okay, so the month obviously starts off with acceptance and forgiveness, and we have those cards right side up. I know acceptance is the first card out, but I want to start with forgiveness. And so often when people talk about forgiving someone, people go, how could you do that? How could you do that? How could you forgive them? The reality is forgiveness is about ourselves. It's about freeing ourselves from anger. It's about freeing ourselves from resentment of this person or this situation. And it's also about forgiving ourselves. So when we forgive somebody for doing something really shitty to us, it's not about giving them peace. It's about giving us peace. Because if you're carrying around that anger and that hostility towards somebody, that's dragging you down. It doesn't do anything to the other person. And I get it. Sometimes when we tell someone we forgive them, they get a sense of relief. It's like their conscience can breathe easy again. So that's a byproduct of forgiving somebody. But the reality is, this is about you, not them. You don't even need to tell them. It can be a psychic thing where you're just mentally sitting with some thoughts and some memories of something or someone and saying, you know what, I forgive you. I don't want to carry this burden anymore. On the flip side of this, we all have regrets in life. I don't believe there is anybody on this earth that wouldn't go back in time and change something that they've done or something that they've said. And the reality is, we have to forgive ourselves for these screw ups that we've made in the past. We all do the best we can with what we have. And is it always the right thing? No. But you can't go back and change the past. And so we have to forgive ourselves. I've never been a big drinker, but if I went out and I started drinking, I would wake up in the morning with a hangover, and I think this is ultimately a good thing, but I could always remember everything. I almost never, ever got blackout drunk. So I would remember every dumb thing I said and did whilst I was intoxicated. And so I would start the apology tour. I would start calling people and texting people going, I am so sorry. And the problem is, when I was drunk, I thought I was hilarious. And I would tell you just how hilarious I thought I was. And if you didn't agree with me, I would keep telling you until you agreed with me. Just annoying, like an annoying little mosquito that people couldn't get away from. And I would call people and I would be so embarrassed. And I always thought when I was drunk that everybody else was sober. So that was the other issue. What I would find out on my apology tour is that everybody else was as drunk as I was, doing their own dumb shit, and most of them thought I was as funny as I thought I was. And if not, they weren't paying any attention to me. So, you know, I would get to a point where I would be turning myself inside out over all this dumb stuff. And you ultimately have to just go, you know what? It is what it is. We all have these moments, and I'm grateful that I only have a handful of them, but boy, are they doozies. You have to forgive yourself. There's things I've said to people, not because I was coming from a bad place, but maybe my delivery wasn't great. And I've had to go back and explain my intentions, or maybe they just have never sort of gotten past what I said, even though that wasn't my intention. I have to trust that the universe has a reason for why these situations shift and change, but you have to forgive yourself and just move forward. I think that the forgiveness and acceptance card go hand in hand. We have to accept what is. We have to accept, you know, where we are in life. And I think that when you accept that we have a certain amount of control in our life. I'm not someone who's a fatalist, but I also do think that there are fatalistic moments in our lives. There are fate points where there are certain people we are meant to encounter, and they happen at exactly the right time. You know, my partner kept saying, you know, where were you? You were meant to come into my life years earlier. And for a little while, we started looking back, and the mutual friend that introduced us started talking to me about him in 2021. I didn't reach out to him because I wanted to speak to him about a few things until 2024. And he kept going, why didn't you? And the reality is, we were talking the other day and I said, you weren't ready for me to come into your life. I kept thinking that there was a block within me, and it wasn't. And there was just stuff going on that we weren't ready to meet. There was a fatalistic moment. We were meant to come into each other's lives, but there was a timing thing that was there. So this is a month where I think embracing just where everything is and breathing through it is going to bring a lot of peace. And when you're at peace, everything is able to flow a lot easier. So I think if you are able to get into a place of forgiveness, either of yourself, of people, of situations from the past, that is going to lighten your load in terms of the energetic load that you're carrying, and accepting that all of this is happening in divine timing, and accepting where things are and not getting stuck on where you wish things were or where you think things should be is going to ease things a lot for you. I think there is an element of self-doubt that is coming in, and that can happen if the timing isn't happening in the way that we want it to. But okay, so I think these last three cards, they all come in together. So we've got hesitation or fear. So this is the boldness card in reverse. Hesitation or fear may be blocking your next step. Trust in your ability. So this is, I think that hesitation and fear is playing into the self-doubt, and they probably go hand in hand in terms of you're hesitating, and so part of the hesitation is your self-doubt. And then because you've got these things holding you up, then you've got stagnation as opposed to creation. So you're overthinking everything, and that sort of slows everything down. So you're in a place this month where you need to figure out if there is fear holding you back, and if there's a part of you that thinks you're not capable of moving in the direction that you want to be and need to be moving in. So that fear, that self-doubt, that needs to stop. You need to get a handle on all of that. And it's that which is causing the stagnation, and that's part of your frustration. So this month you need to focus on all of that. I do think that the forgiveness and the acceptance is going to help get you in a mental space where you're then able to look at what it is that's holding you back, and get on top of that inner dialogue that we all have happening inside of us. And once you get in on top of the inner dialogue, everything shifts. You need to be, you need to be driving your bus. So there is an interview on my Natalie Sadie page, which is an interview with psychotherapist Ida. And we talk about her type of therapy, and she would you would do traditional talk therapy, and then you would talk to the different parts of your personality. And so we would speak to our inner critic, we would talk to our ego, and all these different parts that make up who we are. And Ida always explained it that if you met an egomaniac, instead of this person driving their own bus, because we've got to give a picture so that it makes sense, their ego would be driving the bus. And so they were in control of everything that was going on in their lives. So this is a month where you need to regain control and take the wheel of your own bus and get everything else in check. So you've got to get your fear in check. You've got to get your inner critic in check. You've got to get everyone in line so that you can all move forward in unison, working together with you in charge and driving the bus in the direction that you want to go in. So I will link the interview with Ida in the description below, because if you're curious, unfortunately, Ida passed away in 2019 quite suddenly, but that woman changed my life. I know it all sounds a little left of center, but her interview gives a really great overview of the sort of therapy that she did, and what I'm saying will probably make a lot more sense. So now we're moving on to the Spirit Cards Oracle deck by John Moseley. So the first card out is Dear Spirit, Awareness, Sensitivity, and Gentleness. So this is the whole thing. Deer, if you're ever near them in the wild, they are so aware of every noise and everything that is going on around them. And this is a month where you need to tune in, and this is about figuring out why you're hesitating, what it is that's holding you back from having the boldness card be upright. So figuring out your fear, figuring out like why this self-doubt is slowing you down. And the gentleness is being gentle with yourself. This goes back to the forgiveness card, being, less self-critical, understanding that you've done the best that you can possibly do. Then we have the flight card, letting go, ease, and forgiveness. So forgiveness is huge this month. The fact that it's come up in both cards, this is about giving yourself freedom. This is about giving yourself this set of wings to be able to move forward in the way that you haven't been. And so birds have hollow bones. And I don't know why I always remember this fact, but birds have hollow bones. And they have that so they can take flight. So if you think about it in terms of carrying the weight around of resentment and anger, whether it be towards yourself, somebody else, or a situation, that weight is stopping you from being able to fly forward in a way that is free and in a way that will propel you forward in the way that you want to and deserve to be. So then we have frog spirit, cleansing, transition, and change. Frogs are kind of like the canary in the coal mine, in a sense that if an area is healthy, you will have frogs. If the frogs all start dying, they're letting you know that something is very, very wrong. So this moment of forgiveness and acceptance is a moment of cleansing, and it's also a moment of transition, in that when you are no longer hanging on to all of this stuff that's holding you back, it allows you to step into a higher version of you. And that in itself is transition. And it will alter how you move forward through life in a really positive way. If you choose to hang on to that resentment and anger, you're going to stay exactly where you are. Nothing is going to shift. And then we have the surrender card, allowing, trust, and destiny. So this is about letting yourself fall and knowing that the universe will trust you. This is about acceptance. It's about allowing what is going to happen to happen. It's about trusting that the universe will catch you. And it's about trusting that, these fatalistic moments will happen and take place in a really wonderful way, for your growth and for your betterment. And then we're ending with the Soul Care Oracle cards. And the card that we've pulled out is Leo. I find my creative spark in play. So I think while this is a bit of a month where we have to go within, and there is probably going to be some soul searching while looking for the answers and the things that we need to let go of, the changes that we need to make in terms of our inner dialogue and how we're approaching the world, we need to remember that there needs to be play. There needs to be that fun Leo energy. So give yourself a break, because all of this, while this energy can be incredibly freeing and cathartic, it can be very deep and draining at the same time when you're having to rehash all these different things. So make sure you tap into that fun energy and make time for play, make time for lighthearted moments and release, so that it doesn't feel overwhelming. And now we are moving on to pile number 3, which is the blue sandstone. Okay, so we are starting with the Law of Attraction Oracle cards. I think we have 6 instead of 5 because an extra card jumped out. So we have perspective in reverse. Limited thinking may be holding you back. Open yourself to new viewpoints and possibilities. Then we have acceleration in reverse. Resistance or hesitation may be slowing momentum. Lean into the movement. We have realization in reverse. Mental resistance may be keeping you stuck. Challenge your assumptions. Rethink your approach. Synchronicity in reverse, you may be missing signs or dismissing guidance. Slow down and open yourself to synchronicity. Then we have open path. Fear of the unknown may be limiting you. Soften your need for control and let clarity emerge naturally. And then the final card is also in reverse, which is precision. Scattered efforts may be wasting energy. Refine your focus and act with clarity. So this is a month where we clearly need to shift some things. I think we're probably a little blocked. And I will say that as I'm doing this is obviously the third pile. Having done the other 2 readings already, fear getting in our way has been a constant theme through all 3 of these readings. So clearly it's something that's going on with the collective. So first and foremost, what you have to remember this month is that perspective is everything. How you look at things absolutely plays a part in how everything plays out. If you want to look at everything through a lens of doom and gloom, that's how it's going to play out. So you need to pay attention to how you're looking at things, what the internal dialogue is telling you. And your perspective may be what is slowing everything down. You're wanting acceleration, but things aren't moving. So this is where you need to pay attention to, am I being really negative? Am I stopping myself from going forward? Is that what is holding me back? So, and again, so we've got perspective and realization both in reverse. So we have these cards which are telling us that our mindset is playing a huge part in what is holding us up this month. Mental resistance may be keeping you stuck. Challenge your assumptions and rethink your approach. So this is a moment where you need to look at what is going on and go, okay, do I need to change this? Do I need to do this differently? And the synchronicity card in reverse is telling us that you are missing signs. You're missing the messages that are coming through. Now, whether it's that your intuitive gut is telling you something and you're ignoring it and doing the opposite anyway. I was telling someone I did something the other night, and I knew somebody wasn't going to go to their destination. They were flying out, and I had a feeling, but I dropped them off. And then sure enough, I was getting up to some things. And then I get a phone call that they're coming straight back to LA because there were delays and things were going on. I knew in my gut that they were coming straight back, and I didn't listen to it. And I went off and I was doing all this other stuff and causing myself problems. So you need to pay attention to the signs and messages that you're getting. And maybe it's your gut that's giving you the information. Maybe it is that the universe is giving you signs in terms of feathers, finding them in your home, finding them on your doorstep, looking down at your feet and there's a feather there. Or maybe you're having this thought about something and then a feather comes drifting down. I've had that happen and then land at my feet. So you need to pay attention to this. Coins, finding coins on the street. or finding a coin in a really random spot where there's not meant to be coins. Another sign, maybe you have an animal totem or something that is your sign. You need to be paying attention. Stop dismissing the things that are coming through, or maybe you're just not listening. So that's something that you need to open your mind to. So then we have open path, and this is fear of the unknown may be limiting you. Soften your need for control and let clarity emerge naturally. So this is where the fear comes in. Are you stuck with an idea or a belief that something has to play out in a very specific manner? And if it doesn't, then it's not right. That's not what you manifested. With manifestation, you have to be so detailed when you are telling the universe what you want, because sometimes you look around and you go, oh, I got exactly what I wanted. It just looks differently, or the universe has presented it this way. Other times we're not clear in what we want. And so the universe gives us what we asked for, but we didn't ask correctly. So you need to let go of this fear at the moment, and you need to be open to what the universe is offering you. Because sometimes things may not look exactly how you wanted them to, but it's everything that you've asked for and everything that you need. And then, of course, we've got precision. Scattered efforts may be wasting energy. Refine your focus and act with clarity. So here's the thing. When we're fearful and when things are holding us back, we often start to do something and then we're like, oh, this is too hard, and we stop. And then we sort of go again, and then we're not getting the results. And so things just aren't happening. Things aren't moving along in the way that we want or need them to. This is where you need to have a look at where it is you're going. You need to figure all of that stuff out, and then you need to be consistent in the efforts that you're putting forward. The example that I keep getting, and I'm just going to use like a content creator, right? So it's different if you want to be successful on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever the platform may be. It shifts as to sort of how frequently you need to post and what sort of posts you need to put up. But so let's use YouTube. If you want to be successful on YouTube, one of the main things is you need to be posting consistently. And there are different ways you can do this and achieve that goal. But if you're posting sporadically, your channel is not going to grow. The algorithm is not going to put you forward. So you need to have a plan, and you need to stick to that plan. And even in those moments where you feel like you're getting nowhere, you need to be persistent, because there'll be a moment where something will shift and it'll all click into gear. So you can apply this logic with anything that you're moving towards. Maybe it's a fitness goal and you're working out once or twice, but then you're sore and you're like, oh, I can't see any changes, so I'm not going. And then you go again in another 2 weeks, and you're not going to see results that way. But if you are consistent, where you're eating whole foods and really feeding and nourishing yourself, and then working out regularly, and maybe it's just going for a walk. I was out with some friends of mine a few weeks ago, and her husband, who I adore, joined us, and he turned up. I went, oh my God, what happened to you? He had lost so much weight. And the weight that he had on him, he gained during COVID and lockdown and all of that, as a lot of people did. And he was never able to actually lose it. And the only thing he was doing differently was his wife said, you have to walk every morning. Like, our children and I need you here. And so this is what you need to do. So he has been out walking every morning, and that's all he's been doing. But he's done it consistently, and he's lost, I can't remember if he said 50 pounds or 100 pounds, but it was a significant amount of weight. So this is where you need to refocus and figure out what it is you need to do in order to get the momentum that you need moving forward. So now we're moving on to the Spirit Cards Oracle deck by John Moseley. So the first card out that we have is create, aspiration, expression, and exploration. So you're ready to move forward and create and focus on what it is you want to do. So this to me ties into the precision card. This is about moving forward and exploring and moving in that direction. You just need to have that very dialed in effort and plan in order to move forward and get all of that moving. Then we have the tiger spirit, willpower, instinct, and sensuality. So for me, the most important thing here is your intent. And if you are focused on moving forward and focused on the growth that you want, you are going to be successful. If you've ever watched any sort of cat, lock in on its prey and want to go forward. You know, it might be your cat watching the birds outside the door, or watching a nature documentary and seeing the tiger actually stalking its victim. Once they're locked in, they're going. And so this is a month for you to focus in and really be so locked in on what it is you want to create, and having that willpower to honor the schedule and the dedication that you need in order to move forward and get there. Sorry, I just dropped a card. And then we have the bear spirit, boundaries, introspection, and home. And for me, the biggest one in regard to the bear spirit is the introspection. You need to go in this month and you need to look at how you've been approaching life. You need to look at what it is that's holding you back and where it is you want to go. And in that introspection, you're going to figure out what it is you need to shift in order to be successful. And you have every capability to create exactly what you want. But this is a month where you need to be really honest with yourself about where it is you're going. Then the final card that we have is the Soul Care card, Oracles, which is Sara McCormick. And we have the Neptune card. I am finding my way through the illusion. And I think Neptune is all about dreams and illusion. And I think that you have been locked in a place where you've been a little deluded with where you are, how you think things are going to play out, and having a very fixed, dreamy version of all of this. Whereas this is the month where you're being called to actually take action to turn all this around, to get that momentum going, to figure out how it is you need to move forward and proceed. And this is where you need to lock in with that tiger spirit. This is where you need to have the introspection with the bear spirit and create. You can do all of this. This is the freedom that you're going to find on the other side of this. You need to let go of the fear. You need to get in charge of that inner dialogue that you have going on. And you need to dream big when you're manifesting. But like I said, you cannot hold on to a vision that you have so tightly that you miss what's being presented to you. Because look, what's meant for you will always find you, but you also have free will in this life. And it's very possible to let something pass you by, and it might be some time before it comes back again. So this is why it's so important this month to start paying attention to your intuition, to the signs that are being presented to you, because they are going to serve you well on this journey this month. As I always say, I hope that these readings resonated with you all. If not, it's totally fine. As I always say, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. This reading has gone live on Sunday, the 31st of May. Make sure you head back to my YouTube channel, 3 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, for the weekly Oracle Wisdom on Monday, the 1st of June. We'll have a look at all of that energy, and I hope you all have a wonderful June.